Hello, Dharma Circle. Swati here, the embodied Dharma coach. Let's talk about October transits because there is a lot going on this month. It is a powerful junction point in the Vedic calendar. And we also have the sacred 9-day and night celebration of Navratri occurring with the new moon into the waxing cycle. And again, this is the most auspicious time of the year in the Vedic calendar. And so I want to give you some updates and some insights and best practice for how to work with the transits and the energies for this month from a sidereal or Vedic astrology perspective. So the month begins with a retrograde Jupiter in Aries, and we also have Saturn retrograde in his own sign of Aquarius. So just remember that we are in big cleanup mode right now. These are two major planets, and whatever they're doing in the sky impacts us immensely, both in the body and in our environment as well. So big cleanup with the energies of Jupiter and teacher, guidance, knowledge, wisdom, as well as the energies of Saturn, which have to do with grief work and the physical body particularly, as well as consistency, commitment, and he loves hard work and effort. So whenever Saturn's involved, there's effort. And when he's retrograde, there's extra effort involved. So just being mindful of that level of work that is required this month. And it is a very spiritual month. It's a junction point in the Vedic calendar and in natural time that requires slowing down, pausing, being gentle with the body. Especially important as we move into November. What you do this month sets you up for success in November and in the cycles to come. And the reason for that is every November we have a debilitated Sun. This year we'll also have debilitated Venus. And this means that the body gets very weak. It is very vulnerable. Health is really vital, paying attention to the needs of the body. That's in November. So everything we do now sets us up for success in the cycles to come. What we do have going for us this month and for the first half of October is an exalted Mercury. Mercury will be in his favorite sign of Virgo until the later in the month on the 18th when he'll move into Libra. And when Mercury is strong in the chart, we get clear communication, we get a strong mind, we get really good success with technology and all things Mercury. Commerce improves. Anything that's mental body oriented. It's also really good for communication as well and creativity. So Mercury is strong until the 18th. He's navigating exaltation, own sign, Mula Trikona degrees. And those are all very nice placements. So check to see where Virgo is in your Jyotish chart to see where this strength of Mercury is really arriving. And the other thing that is a big shift this month, especially for those of you who have Mars in your chart that's strong, maybe a ruling planet, maybe your ascendant is ruled by Mars or prominently placed, maybe you're in a Mars Mahadash, you'll be wanting to pay attention to the transits of Mars. And Mars moves into Libra on the 3rd. We lose that precision of Mars in Virgo. That's my natal placement. I do love that Mars precision in Virgo, I have to admit. But as Mars enters Libra on the 3rd, he's there already, we get a much more focus on relationship. There is more of a desire to take action around relationship. There's a more one-pointed focus on connection, co-creation, creativity, all things Libra, and the creative wisdom and inspiration that Libra brings. However, there's also this element of vacillation and confusion and which way should I go and which choice should I make, and that is strong when Mars enters Libra. And you may realize that you are back and forth about something, and probably something relational. So, new moon is in Virgo and Chitra Nakshatra on October 14th at 11:55 a.m. That's Mountain Time. There's also a solar eclipse that occurs with this new moon. We are leading up to this new moon and Navratri cycle and solar eclipse already. And we're in Pitrapaksha. This is a 2-week celebration of the ancestors, and it always precedes Navratri. So 2 weeks celebrating the ancestors, then moving into 9 days and nights honoring the divine feminine, Mother Divine. This is the veil thinning. This is the transition point in the Vedic calendar in natural time. Those of us in the northern hemisphere, we're already feeling this shift into fall. And for some of you, depending on where you live, it's very subtle. Up here in the Colorado mountains, it's very dramatic. We are in it. It's obvious. Everybody knows it's fall. Most of the leaves have already dropped. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're in that transition point, that junction from winter into spring. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. This sacred junction point is happening. The veil is thin. Shakti is enlivening. The sap is flowing. And this is a reminder from an Ayurvedic perspective that we do our cleansing right now, that we honor this natural tendency for the flow of Shakti, life force energy in the body. We support releasing and removing toxins in the body, and that we're supporting the transition point because the body's doing it, nature's doing it. And so be really mindful of how you're supporting yourself and your body in this natural cycle of purging. And this is physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I find that at this time of year, when we're going from Pitrapaksh into the Navratri celebration, it's a very sacred time. It's also a grief work cycle. So this is part of the cleansing that's taking place. All the undigested emotion from the previous cycles and the ancestral work that's required in order to do this work. This is the time. This is the time to do it. This year, we get a double whammy because we also have an eclipse portal, a 2-week eclipse cycle that coincides with all of this work and this vulnerability, this sacred junction point. So here we are, we're in it, and October promises to be vulnerable, tender, very spiritual, and certainly is very much about cleanup. And this is emotional body cleanup. Whenever we're in an eclipse cycle, this is about cleaning up your shadow work, addressing, facing the shadow head on, and identifying where are these challenges showing up. When we're in an eclipse cycle, you will likely notice that anything that has been untended will rise to the surface. So we often notice that molehills become mountains. So something that is maybe under the surface or small becomes very big, magnified at this time, so we can see it more clearly, so we can identify the challenges and really work with this during the eclipse cycle. These eclipse cycles are very spiritual. The whole month of October, this is not a time to be launching things and starting new projects and being worldly and being out in the world, big, magnanimous energy. This is a time of turning inward, tending to your spiritual work, and being very mindful how you're taking care of your body, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The Chitra new moon in Virgo brings Vishvakarma and his gifts and wisdom to the cycle. Vishvakarma has to do with building and planning. He is considered the celestial architect and very powerful for Jyotish and Vedic astrology, and he's action-oriented. Vishvakarma, karma indicates action. He is an Aditya, so he provides resources on the material plane of existence particularly. He's very helpful for that building on a material world level. So be asking yourself, what's my ultimate goal right now on my dharmic path? What steps do I need to be taking in order to bring this vision into reality? What am I creating for myself, for my life, for my purpose? What is my purpose? Am I in alignment with my purpose? All of these questions around Dharma, legacy, purpose in this body, in this lifetime, they're up right now, and it's going to be coming to the surface, particularly during this sacred 9-day and night process of awakening Shakti and the gifts and wisdom of Mother Divine. Navratri never comes without an internal battle and conflict, and that's because the nature of this 9-day and night sacred celebration has to do with the whole meaning and purpose, and also the metaphor of this sacred cycle is Durga battling the demon Mahishasura. And this 9-day and night celebration is her battle with the Rakshasa, the demon. And she's battling. Light and dark is in a conflict, in a heated battle through this process until she overtakes the demon. And of course, she ultimately wins. And this is our reminder that Dharma always prevails, that light always overtakes the darkness, that the Mother Divine and the Divine Feminine always wins. And this is a truth of nature and natural law. And Navratri reminds us of this powerful wisdom and insight for the dharmic path. It's a celebration of the Tridevi, the triple goddess in the Vedic tradition, represented by Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Durga. So first 3 days are dedicated to Durga, second 3 days are dedicated to Lakshmi, and the final 3 days are dedicated to Goddess Saraswati. And on the 10th day, Vijayadashmi, or Victory Day, occurs. And this is when we celebrate that ultimate victory of light conquering darkness, good overtaking the bad, masculine and feminine, the transformation of this duality. It comes into wholeness on the 10th day. So, very important time for your Dharma. And the first half of the month is particularly sacred and powerful. We are in a solar eclipse cycle, starting with this new moon on the 14th. And a solar eclipse particularly brings to the surface issues with the masculine, power, the physical body even. And so be mindful of that which is surfacing at this time, particularly with the masculine and power and the physical body. And that's part of this solar eclipse process. Now, the full moon in Aries occurs in Ashvini on the 28th, and this is occurring with a penumbral lunar eclipse. The eclipse cycle closes at this time, And it's just fascinating that this Rahu Ketu transit that we have been in for the last year and a half is shifting on the 30th. And right as this shift is occurring, we have a full moon in Aries and Ashvini. The reason why this is so important, especially for closure and sort of a grand finale of this transit, is that the cycle of Rahu in Aries and Ketu in Libra has been all about healing. Healing the relationship with self, healing the relationship with other. You may notice that relationship issues are really coming to the forefront for you right now. And certainly within this eclipse cycle and Navaratri transition point, this is it. There's stuff arriving on multiple levels for you to face and navigate and work through. So right before this transit ends, literally days before, we get one last reminder here with this full moon, big energy, big emotion. The healing that is possible through Ashvini is like no other. And Ashvini is particularly helpful for physical body healing, but in the Vedic tradition, healing and the healing arts encompass all of the expressive arts. And there are over 60 different healing arts in the Vedic tradition. Everything from music to self-adornment to dancing to home decoration and decorating the altar. All of this is about healing. Pretty much everything is about healing and awakening. And so this full moon promises this big healing and supports you in this big healing. This is my horse sense. I have to plug horses, of course, because with Ashvini, it's connected to, this constellation is connected to horses, and the strength of the horse, the power of the horse, it's actually symbolized by a horse head. And horses represent power, strength, endurance, vitality. Any of you who work with horses like me, you know the horse wisdom and the medicine that horses bring, and the support of strength and power that it brings within the body. And traditionally, horses have been known to create an anti-venom. It's a metaphor as well because it wards off evil, poison, snakes, and that's part of the power and the strength of horse and horse medicine. So this Ashvini full moon comes with this reminder of horse strength, horse power, literally. There's that masculine energy and clearing and cleaning and healing whatever this grief and trauma dynamic has been within relationships, with self, other, the karmas that you've been exploring and navigating over the last year and a half with Aries and Libra, getting our focus with the Rahu Ketu transit. And of course, Rahu is shifting into Pisces and Ketu is shifting into Virgo for the coming year and a half. And this is a major transition point. I'll do another video on that, and also I'll be sharing horoscopes and some articles about that, of course. But just notice that shift is already taking place. We're already in this transition point with the nodes, and we're in this Sandhi period where things get a little murky. Literally, we're in the netherworlds, and so the nodes are shifting out of this Aries Libra dynamic and into Pisces Virgo. And so there's a combination, there's a blending that takes place with these different energies. And as we move into Rahu in Pisces and Ketu into Virgo, the energy shifts. It shifts away from this self-other and the attraction-repulsion dynamic that we've been in this process, and it shifts into a much more spiritual and earth dynamic. There's very much a pull towards the ancestors and spiritual work and closures and endings and away time retreats. It's a very sacred spiritual process that Rahu will be pulling us into over the next year and a half. And Ketu going into Virgo brings work with the earthy qualities of Virgo, and also breaking up any sort of mental and emotional, but primarily mental. There'll be trauma work with the mind, and really important stuff about being overly critical and too much precision, overthinking. Again, I'll be sharing more about the Rahu Ketu transit, but just start to notice where that shift is already occurring in your body and what's starting to take place for you in this very critical junction point of October. As we transition, the nodes change, we transition into an eclipse cycle, Navratri, and at the same time, later in the month, Sun goes debilitated. And Sun will collide with Ketu in Libra for several weeks. And this is a very delicate time. I cannot overemphasize this. This whole month is delicate, but the second half of the month particularly gets very delicate as Sun debilitates. We go through this every year, but that conjunction with Ketu, it's very challenging, it's very delicate. It's a restructuring for the self, the ego identity, literally. With the masculine, there'll be very sudden shifts and changes, so be mindful of that, especially on a relational level. And K2 is the trauma node, so trauma with the masculine will be up. Trauma with father, power, authority, it's up. And when Sun is debilitated, we don't have, this is the lowest point of the year for our own sense of power. It's a great time to be doing spiritual work, wonderful time to be doing inner work, but it is low light. It's the low point of the year for the Sun. And we need to be mindful of that, especially on a health and a body level. But do be mindful later in the month as that Sun Ketu conjunction occurs, because it just brings up a lot of physical body vulnerability as well as trauma with the masculine. And we're certainly doing that grand finale cleanup with Ketu in Libra around the full moon and as the month closes out. This is a great time for healing, a great time for spiritual work. Pause, slow down. Stay close to your body. The eclipse cycle will close with that penumbral lunar eclipse. That's when emotional body work gets activated. So pay attention to that as the month closes out. When we are in an eclipse cycle, just a gentle reminder, from a Vedic perspective, this is not a time to start anything new. It is not advised to be out under the eclipse. The shadow, I don't know about you, I got plenty of shadow, I don't need more. And when you absorb that shadow energy, it's not very helpful. It can actually intensify this eclipse cycle unnecessarily. So in the solar eclipse, the first portion of this eclipse cycle, this eclipse is visible from the from North America and South America, and we will be in the shadow, the gaze of the shadow, For the penumbral lunar eclipse, the U.S. will not be under that shadow. Still not advised to be outside during that time, and definitely a time for spiritual work, rest, taking care of the body. Good time to be meditating, eating very sattvic, gentle, easy to digest foods. And this is my recommendation for not only the month of October, but as we move into November with a debilitated Sun and Venus. This is the weakest point of the year for physical body. And it's also the perfect time from an Ayurvedic perspective to be doing your cleanse and to be really cleaning out the channels from the previous cycles, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Great time to be honoring the ancestors, doing your ancestral work, doing your grief work, your trauma work, your shadow work. And what better way to do that than with the wisdom of embodied Vedic astrology? This is my approach. I prefer to use this tool in an embodied way, helping us stay close to our body wisdom and intelligence, deepening our own healing and transformation journey. This is the path of Dharma, sharing our gifts and wisdom from this embodied place, staying close to our sacred knowledge and wisdom, which is ancestral, by the way. Each of us has inherited our special Dharmic gifts from our own lineage. And it's through your healing work that you enliven and awaken these channels in the bodies so that you can share and be clear in your sacred gifts, your own Dharmic wisdom, knowledge, and intelligence. So that's my rundown for October. And if you would like my transit report, my sidereal transit and moon wisdom, you can comment transit below. I will follow up with you and give you access to my full blog, as well as any transit reports that I share throughout the month, as well as horoscopes. Comment transits below, and I will share with you my sidereal embodied Vedic astrology approach to moon wisdom, transits, and look forward to sharing more with you in the coming cycles. Do take care of your body, stay close to your body, and honor your healing work and your healing journey in the cycle ahead. All right, everyone, be well, take good care.